up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, here to bring you another solid episode of my weekly Q&A show to help people's questions, episode 227. We got a pretty standard episode involving a couple of weird questions, I might add, and maybe one or two newbies. I also would like to note that I got a lot of versus series-like questions for this episode, so a lot of them I just kind of answered in the comment section of the last video. So if you don't hear your question in this video, just check the comment section for the last video and you should see your answer there. I'm going to start off real quick with the weirdest question I've heard in a really long time, coming from Mr. Matthew Vader. And I had to think about this separately. And your question was, which power suits me more? And you kind of typed it kind of weirdly, so this is going to sound weird just me trying to explain it. You wanted to know, out of these two powers, which best suits me? Able to cover my body in red blood skin, which helps me stand low temperatures as long as I touch old blood soaked it up and can transform me into anything my heart desires. I don't even know how to describe that. Or the ability to pull out my bones, causing my skeleton to regrow them, and then I can make me unbreakable until the next generation, and able to craft my own weapons into them. I don't even understand that. I'm trying to visualize it, and I just can't. I mean, the first one, the ability to withstand low temperatures, buddy, I live in a damn desert. It never really gets that cold. I mean, even during winter time, it doesn't really get cold enough that low temperatures bother me. And then the whole pulling out your bones thing to make weapons just sounds weird. I mean, Rancid from Power Rangers Time Force could do that, but you know, he had a mutation disease too. So I don't know. I guess maybe the blood, but I would have really no use for that. So yeah. On to the next question. A more normal question, I should say, coming from Mr. Kyle Zemet, and you want to know, what has been the easiest versus match to decide who would win? Well, that's an easy one. Definitely, I'd say it's a tie. It's a tie between either my Aerith versus Yuna matchup, or my Sniper Wolf versus the End matchup, because for Yuna versus Aerith, technically, there's really no way Aerith could win because Yuna has up to like 13 Aeons to back her up. But the problem is that Yuna wouldn't want to use them against someone like Aerith. I mean, that's just weird. And with Sniper Wolf versus the End, it really just comes down to a matter of Sniper Wolf was in better physical health. She wasn't, you know, hours from death. She had a better weapon. And her skills as a sniper were decades ahead of the End by the time he died, because she was trained by Big Boss, who was able to beat the End. So I would say it's between those two as for which one was easiest, because in terms of editing, I would say Sniper Wolf versus the End was definitely a lot easier to put together. I got that done like in 3 days as opposed to Aerith versus Yuna, which, you know, I do believe that took me like a week or two at most in order to research, then edit, and get up. So, yeah, I guess I'm kind of leaning just more towards Sniper Wolf versus the End. Next question comes from Philchuck Marks, and this is one of the few versus matchups that I think I can answer in this video. And you want to know, how about a Dante and Virgil matchup versus Sephiroth in Genesis? The problem with doing Sephiroth in Genesis is that we've never seen them actually work together, and so it's kind of impossible to understand how Sephiroth would operate in a team fight. He's really more of a solo guy. You could do Genesis and GL, but that's very limiting. So yeah, I mean, I guess I would lean more towards Dante and Virgil because we have seen what they are capable of as a team, but I think it's just a little bit hard to judge the other way around. So I guess I would go with Dante and Virgil, probably. Next question comes from Misc Carrot, and you want to know, what were my thoughts on Zack Snyder's Aquaman design? Well, now that I look back at it, I didn't really like that movie that much at all, really. I'm not even excited for the Justice League movie coming out. If anything, I mean, people like to say that Fox should just give the X-Men rights back to Disney's Marvel, or make some type of compromise like Sony did. If anything, I think that Warner Brothers should just give the rights to the DC Universe to Disney. I mean, heck, I would be more excited to see a Justice League Avengers crossover than an X-Men Avengers crossover, but heck, that's just me. In terms of the design of Aquaman, I just wasn't all that impressed. If anything, I was more fond of Aquaman's design from the Injustice series, the first game. I've seen what he's going to look like in this next game. I'm not really a big fan of it, so yeah, I mean, it looked like a L'Oreal commercial when we saw it in Batman vs Superman. So it's harmless. I mean, it's okay, I guess. The next question comes from JDS4696, and you want to know: do I think video game violence inspired the shooting of the recent Orlando shooting massacre? From what I have heard from it, from several news sources, including CNN, no. Video games had nothing to do with it. Apparently, this guy had a problem with seeing two guys kissing in a bathroom in front of his son. You know, I see that shit all the time, and it never bothers me. There are more important things in my life I should worry about. And heck, it's 2016. Grow up. So, no. Video games. That's something you would. No. Video game violence, I don't think it does that, because I think one of the keys to that kind of violence in video games is understanding the difference between reality and virtual reality, I guess. Well, not really virtual reality, just it's a game, it's fiction. Sure, it's kind of given a realistic setting, but you know, there are consequences if you do that kind of stuff in the real world, and there aren't in video games. So no, I don't believe that at all. Next question comes from Santica Sarpino, and you want to know: which is my favorite or least favorite of the Tomb Raider games? I've only played one Tomb Raider game. I guess the first one I played was maybe Tomb Raider 3 on the PC, and I didn't really like it, and so I kind of stayed away from Tomb Raider. But it really wasn't until the remake, or the reboot I should say, that I got into Tomb Raider. And you know, I'm waiting for Rise of the Tomb Raider to come out on the PlayStation. But yeah, I would say this is definitely my favorite Tomb Raider game that made me a Tomb Raider fan. But in terms of all the previous games, I only played 3 and I didn't really like it. I never beat it. I played it for maybe a couple hours, and I decided I'm just not a Tomb Raider fan at that time. But heck, that was a long time ago. Next question comes from Dylan McLaughlin, and you want to know: if I could play only 3 games for a year, what would they be? Oh, that's easy. Probably Final Fantasy X. I know I can get a lot of, I can get months worth of the gameplay because of the extras, especially if you get the remastered version that has all the international editions, because technically it comes with Final Fantasy X-1 and X-2, so technically I get 2 games in there. Probably Metal Gear Solid 3, because that's my all-time favorite video game of all time. And as crazy as this might sound, I probably would pick Destiny. I mean, I haven't played Destiny in a while because I've been busy, but I do consider, at this point, Destiny to be the perfect filler game. And a filler game is really a game that you play in order to wait for the next big game to come out. So I'll probably be playing it for the next month until games start coming out in August. And there's several expansions, and I still have yet to do any of the raids. So there's still, I would say there's enough to keep me occupied for a whole year, as long as I'm switching it between the Final Fantasy games and Metal Gear Solid 3. So yeah, I think those are the 3 games I would get. And the last question comes from the only newbie of the episode, and I'm real sorry if I can't say her name right. Symphonia Fan 64. I'm really bad with names like that. And you want to know: if I could train under anyone from Final Fantasy series, who would it be and why? That's no question. I would pick Auron, hands down. Auron is my all-time favorite character in all of Final Fantasy, with Cloud and Squall being tied for number 2. The reason I would pick Auron is because in terms of the type of person or combatant that I would want to be in Final Fantasy, there's really no one better. I would definitely want to be a Swordmaster, but I can't go to Cloud or Squall because those guys are depressing characters mostly, and heck, I'm a depressing person for anyone who actually knows me in person for the most part, so I don't need that. Zidane from 9, I'm not really into the whole Yoda idea. I don't like someone who's a lot shorter than I am. anyone in the original games like 1 to 6, I can't really think of anybody. And so Orin just seems like the logical choice. I mean, he is the greatest guardian that Spirit ever seen, and he is really a prime example of being the ultimate sword master without the use of enhancements like someone like Cloud or Sephiroth is. So definitely him. And with that, those are all the questions you guys sent for this episode. I'd like to thank you guys for making this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer for episodes 228 next Friday, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday before I start filming this. And remember to keep it only one question per person. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.